Close your eyes, if you'd like, and let your mind drift. Picture a world far removed from the hum of modern life, a place where the sun burns fiercely over endless fields, where rivers carve their paths through dusty plains, and where the first whispers of civilization were born. Welcome to Sleepy History Stories, where tonight we journey to ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of cities, writing, and laws. This is a land of mud-brick villages, towering ziggurats, and lives shaped by the rhythm of the seasons. Our story begins with the farmers, the unsung heartbeat of this ancient world, toiling under the weight of sun and soil. From there, we'll wander through tales of kings and scribes, uncover secrets buried beneath the sand, and glimpse the lives of those who stood atop this society. This is not a tale of battles or glory, but of the quiet, relentless pulse of existence in a time long past. So settle in, breathe deeply, and let the gentle current of history carry you. Imagine yourself there, in the fields of Sumer, as we begin with what it was really like to be a Mesopotamian farmer, a life so different from our own, you might not last a single day. Imagine yourself waking before dawn in a small mud-brick hut, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and straw. You are a farmer in ancient Mesopotamia, perhaps in the city-state of Uruk around 3000 BCE. Your home is a single room, its walls smoothed by hand, its roof a lattice of reeds that lets in slivers of starlight. The floor is packed dirt, cool against your bare feet, and you share this space with your family, perhaps a spouse, children, and an elderly parent, all curled on woven mats. Nearby, a goat bleats softly, tethered just outside, its musty odor mingling with the faint smoke of last night's fire. This is your world, and it is not an easy one. As the first light creeps over the horizon, you rise, your body already stiff from yesterday's labor. There are no soft beds here, no pillows to ease your rest. You pull on a simple kilt of rough wool, scratchy against your skin, and step into the cool morning air. The Tigris or Euphrates River lies nearby, its waters glinting under the rising sun, but its banks are treacherous, prone to flooding that could sweep away your crops in a single night. Your fields, a patchwork of barley and wheat, stretch before you, their green tips swaying in the breeze. This land is your life, but it demands everything from you. Your first task is to check the irrigation channels, the lifelines of your farm. Mesopotamia's rivers are bountiful but unpredictable, and farmers like you have dug a network of ditches to guide water to the fields. You walk along the muddy banks, your feet sinking into the soft earth, inspecting for clogs of silt or breaches in the clay walls. The work is tedious, and your hands calloused and cracked grip a wooden hoe to clear debris. The air hums with the buzz of insects, and the sun, already climbing, begins to warm your back. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, the salt stinging your eyes, and glance at the distant ziggurat of Uruk, its stepped silhouette a reminder of the gods who watch over or judge your every move. Back at the field, you take up your plow, a heavy wooden frame dragged by a pair of oxen. The beasts are stubborn, their breath steaming in the morning chill, and guiding them requires strength and patience. You press the plow into the soil, the blade biting deep, and feel the strain in your shoulders as you carve furrows for planting. The earth is rich but unforgiving, clotted with clay that sticks to your tools and hands. Hours pass, the sun now high, and your tunic clings to your skin, damp with sweat. There is no shade, no respite, only the endless rhythm of plowing, sowing, and hoping the gods will send rain. but not too much. Midday brings a brief pause. You sit in the shadow of a date palm, its fronds rustling softly, and share a meal with your family. The food is simple, a thick porridge of barley, flavored with onions and a pinch of salt, washed down with weak beer brewed from your own grain. The beer is sour, gritty with sediment, but it quenches your thirst. Your children, their faces smudged with dirt, eat quickly before returning to their tasks, gathering reeds or scaring birds from the crops. There is no laughter, no idle chatter, only the quiet necessity of survival. You chew slowly, the coarse grains catching in your teeth, and feel the weight of the day settle into your bones. The afternoon is for planting or harvesting, depending on the season. If it's spring, you scatter barley seeds into the furrows, each handful a prayer for a good yield. If it's autumn, you wield a flint sickle, its edge dulled from use, to cut stalks of wheat. The work is backbreaking, your spine aching as you bend and rise, the motion as relentless as the river's flow. Blisters form on your palms, and dust coats your throat, making each breath a small effort. The fields are alive with the chirp of crickets and the distant calls of other farmers, but you work in near silence, your thoughts consumed by the task. Yet your labor is not yours alone. The king, the temple, and the gods all claim their share. Taxes are heavy, often half your harvest, collected by scribes who etch your debt onto clay tablets. You deliver sacks of grain to the temple storehouse, your arms trembling under the weight, knowing that refusal could mean punishment, a fine, a beating, or worse, the loss of your land. The gods, too, demand offerings, a portion of your crop, a lamb, or precious dates, carried to the ziggurat's altar under the priest's watchful eyes. You bow before the statue of Inanna, her stone face impassive, and whisper prayers for protection, though doubt lingers in your heart. Life is not without its dangers. Floods can drown your fields, leaving them barren. Drought can crack the earth, turning your crops to dust. Locusts might descend, a buzzing cloud that devours everything in its path. Disease is a constant shadow. Your neighbor's child fell ill last month, her small body claimed by fever before the healer's chance could help. You, too, feel the ache in your joints, the cough that lingers from a damp winter. Medicine is scarce, little more than herbs and prayers, and the healer's fees are beyond your means. Life here is fragile, and you know it could slip away as easily as a handful of barley through your fingers. As evening falls, the sky blushes pink, and you trudge back to your hut, your body heavy with exhaustion. The air cools, carrying the scent of river mud and blooming tamarisk. You eat another modest meal, perhaps flatbread and lentils, and sit by a small fire, its embers casting flickering shadows on the walls. Your family gathers close, mending tools or spinning wool, their voices low. There are no grand stories, no dreams of adventure, only the quiet hope that tomorrow's labor will bring enough to eat, to live. You lie on your mat, the straw prickling through the thin blanket, and close your eyes. Sleep comes slowly, interrupted by the bleat of a goat or the rustle of wind, but it comes. This is your life, day after day, bound to the land, the river, and the gods. And so, as a Mesopotamian farmer, your world is one of endless toil, of earth and sweat, of prayers unanswered and burdens unbroken. It is a life of resilience, but one that would test the strongest among us. You would not last a day, not because you lack courage, but because the weight of this existence, the sun, the soil, the taxes, The gods would grind you down, as it did so many. Let this thought linger as we drift now to another tale, one of a man who rose from nothing to rule this very land. As the echoes of Sargon's empire fade, let your mind drift northward, away from the bustling cities of Sumer to a quieter corner of Mesopotamia. Picture a vast plain, its earth baked by the sun, where low hills rise against a sky of endless blue. Here, in what is now northeastern Syria, lies a secret buried for millennia, a city called Urkesh, home to a people known as the Hurrians. Uncovered only in recent decades, its ruins whisper of lives long forgotten, of mysteries that elude us still. Tonight, we wander through the sands of Urkesh, exploring its silent stones and the questions they leave behind. Imagine yourself there, standing amid the dust, as we uncover the secrets of a city lost to time. Urkesh came to light in the 1980s, when archaeologists began excavating a mound called Tel Mosen. Picture the scene: a team of diggers, their faces shaded by wide hats, brushing away layers of earth with small trowels. The air is dry, carrying the scent of dust and sun-warmed clay. At first, the mound seemed unremarkable, one of many Tel's artificial hills formed by centuries of human settlement scattered across the region. But as the team dug deeper, they found walls of mud brick, their surfaces smoothed by ancient hands, and artifacts that hinted at a city of importance. Clay tablets, inscribed with cuneiform, named this place Urkesh, a Hurrian city thriving around 2500 BCE, perhaps even older than Sargon's Akkad. To understand Urkesh, imagine a city unlike the sprawling urban centers of Ur or Uruk. Picture a compact settlement, its houses clustered around a central plaza, their flat roofs offering shade from the relentless sun. The air hums with the chatter of voices in the Hurrian tongue, a language distinct from Sumerian or Akkadian. Streets, narrow and unpaved, wind between homes, their surfaces packed hard by countless footsteps. The scent of baking flatbread drifts from communal ovens, mingling with the earthy tang of livestock pens. At the city's heart stands a temple, its walls painted with ochre and blue, dedicated to a god, perhaps Kumarbi, the Hurrian father of deities, whose stone image gazes over offerings of grain and oil. What makes Urkesh remarkable is not its size, but its survival. The Hurrians were a people overshadowed by their neighbors Sumerians to the south, Akkadians to the west, Elamites to the east. Yet Urkesh was a hub, a place where trade routes converged. Imagine merchants arriving with caravans, their donkeys laden with lapis lazuli from distant Afghanistan or tin from the northern mountains. In the marketplace, you hear the clink of bronze weights, the rustle of woolen cloth, and the murmur of bartering. Clay seals, rolled over tablets to mark ownership, bear images of lions and griffins, hinting at a culture rich with imagination. Urkesh was no mere village, but a city with influence, its rulers forging alliances with far-off kings. Yet the mystery of Urkesh lies in its silence. Why was it abandoned? Picture the city in its final days, perhaps around 2000 BCE. The streets, once lively, grow quiet. The temple's altars stand empty, their fires cold. Houses, left untended, begin to crumble, their mud brick walls eroding under rain and wind. The tablets cease, their stories unfinished. Archaeologists have found no signs of fire or conquest, no charred beams, no scattered weapons. The city simply faded, its people gone, perhaps to other settlements, perhaps driven by forces we cannot see. This absence is what draws us in, a puzzle with pieces missing, buried beneath the sand. One clue lies in the artifacts. Imagine standing in a trench, the earth cool beneath your feet, as a digger uncovers a clay lion, its mane stylized in sharp ridges. These figurines, found near the temple, suggest a reverence for strength, perhaps a plea for protection. Other finds, pots with swirling designs, bone needles, a child's toy shaped like a chariot, speak of daily life, of hands that shaped clay and wove cloth. Yet the most intriguing discovery is a royal archive, a cache of tablets naming kings and queens. One queen, Tishatal, left her mark on a seal, her name etched beside a lion. Who was she? A ruler in her own right, or a consort wielding quiet power? The tablets offer no answers, only names that echo faintly, like whispers on the wind. Another mystery is the city's underworld. Beneath Urkesh lies a network of chambers, their purpose unclear. Picture a dark passage, its walls damp with earth, lit only by the flicker of an oil lamp. Archaeologists call it a death pit, but not for sacrifice. Skeletons found here, carefully arranged, suggest a ritual space, perhaps a place to honor the dead. The air is heavy, the silence profound, as if the stones themselves hold their breath. Were these chambers for priests communing with gods below? Or a refuge in times of crisis? The lack of violence in the bones rules out massacre, but the question lingers unanswered. Theories abound for Urkesh's end. Some point to climate, to a drying of the rivers that fed its fields. Imagine the plains turning brittle, the crops withering under a merciless sun. Farmers, like those we met, would have watched their livelihoods fade, forced to seek greener lands. Others suggest plague, a silent scourge that emptied homes without leaving scars on the walls. Picture a family, their voices stilled, their belongings left where they fell, a comb, a bowl, a child's sandal. Trade, too, may have shifted, bypassing Urkesh for newer routes, starving the city of wealth. Each theory is a thread, but none weave a complete tapestry. The excavation of Urkesh continues, each season revealing more. Imagine the slow scrape of a trowel, the moment a digger uncovers a shard of pottery, its glaze catching the light. These finds are not treasures of gold, but fragments of lives, mothers, traders, priests who walked these streets. They remind us that history is not only kings like Sargon, but cities like Urkesh, small yet vital, their stories half told. The mystery of its end is not a riddle to solve, but a space to wonder what was and what might have been. As you rest there, let the image of Urkesh linger, the wind over its ruins, the sand settling over forgotten homes. Its silence is a bridge to another story, one of those who lived not in the fields or lost cities, but atop the ziggurats in the shadow of the gods. The sands of Urkesh fade from your mind, and now let your thoughts drift southward to the ancient city of yore, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers cradle a land of abundance and devotion. While farmers toiled in the fields, their lives bound to the earth, another world existed high above, atop the great ziggurat, a stepped mountain of mud brick reaching toward the heavens. Here, in the shadow of the gods, lived the priests of yore, men and women whose days were woven with ritual, wealth, and power. Tonight, we step into their world, a place of incense and silk where the divine and the mortal met. Imagine yourself there, in the cool shade of the temple, as we explore a life so different from the farmers, yet tied to the same ancient rhythm. Picture the ziggurat of yore, its massive form dominating the city around 2100 BCE. Its terraces rise in tiers, each smaller than the last, their surfaces coated in white plaster that gleams under the sun. The air is warm, carrying the scent of blooming tamarisk and the distant tang of the river. A grand staircase, flanked by statues of lions, leads to the summit, where a shrine to Nana, the moon god, stands draped in blue cloth. As a priest, you are one of the elect, chosen to serve the gods who bring order to the world. Your life is not one of toil, but of precision. Every act a thread in the tapestry of divine favor. Your day begins at dawn as the first light touches the ziggurat's peak. You rise from a bed of soft wool, its frame carved with lotus flowers, and dress in a robe of fine linen, its hem embroidered with silver thread. The fabric is cool against your skin, a stark contrast to the farmer's scratchy wool. You step into a courtyard, its floor paved with baked clay tiles, where date palms cast dappled shadows. The air is thick with the scent of myrrh, burning in bronze censers, and the soft chant of your fellow priests fills the space, their voices rising like a gentle tide. You join them, your words a prayer to Nana, asking for his light to guide the city through another day. Your first duty is to prepare the god's meal, a sacred offering that mirrors the feasts of kings. Imagine a chamber within the temple, its walls painted with scenes of rivers and stars. You oversee acolytes as they carry trays of food-roasted fish, plump dates, cakes of barley drizzled with honey. The scent is rich, almost overwhelming, a world apart from the farmer's plain porridge. You place the offerings before Nana's statue, a figure of cedar wood adorned with lapis lazuli eyes, its surface gleaming in the lamplight. You bow, your movements slow and deliberate, and pour a libation of beer into a silver bowl, its surface catching the flicker of flames. The gods do not eat, but the act binds heaven to earth, and the food, later shared among the priests, is your morning meal. As a priest, you are not only a servant of the divine, but a keeper of knowledge. Mid-morning finds you in the temple scriptorium, a quiet room where the air smells of clay and reed. You sit at a low table, a damp tablet before you, and take up a stylus to record the day's offerings or the temple's grain stores. The work is meticulous, each wedge-shaped mark pressed with care, and the tablet's surface is cool beneath your fingers. Other priests study omens, reading the stars or the livers of sacrificed sheep, their surfaces slick and warm. You assist, noting their findings, though the omens clouds in the west, a hawk's cry carry a weight you feel, but do not question. This knowledge sets you apart, a guardian of the city's fate. The temple is also a center of wealth, and you play a role in its management. Imagine a storeroom, its shelves lined with jars of oil, sacks of barley, and bolts of dyed wool. The air is heavy with the scent of grain and wax used to seal the jars. You meet with scribes, their tablets listing taxes from farmers and tribute from traders. The temple owns vast fields, worked by those same farmers we met, and you ensure their harvests reach the granaries. Your decisions affect lives, how much grain to store, how much to distribute to the poor. But you make them from a distance, your world insulated by the ziggurat's walls. The farmer's struggles are known to you, but they are numbers on clay, not faces in the dust. Midday brings a moment of rest. You sit in a shaded garden, its paths lined with roses and jasmine, their fragrance mingling with the breeze. A servant brings you a meal of fish stew, spiced with coriander, and a cup of date wine, its sweetness lingering on your tongue. You eat slowly, the clink of your bronze spoon against the bowl a soft counterpoint to the hum of bees. Around you, other priests discuss theology or trade, their voices low, their laughter rare. This is a life of privilege, but not of idleness. Every act, every word, serves the gods and the city. The afternoon is for rituals, the heart of your role. Picture a procession to the shrine, your robe trailing over the polished steps. The air is thick with incense, its smoke curling upward like a prayer. You carry a censer, its bronze surface warm in your hands, and lead a chant, your voice blending with the others in a rhythm as old as yore itself. Acolytes bring a lamb, its wool soft and trembling, and you guide it to the altar. The act is swift, its life offered to Nana, and the blood is collected in a basin, its scent sharp but fleeting. You speak of this not as violence, but as a gift, a moment that renews the bond between your and the divine. The lamb's meat will feed the temple, its fleece woven into cloth, nothing wasted. Your day is not without tension. The king relies on the temple's support, and you meet with his envoys, their cloaks heavy with gold thread. The air in the meeting chamber is cool, the walls hung with tapestries of winged bulls. You negotiate grain for the army, prayers for the king's health, knowing the balance of power is delicate. The gods are your shield, but the king's favor is your armor. You tread carefully, your words as measured as your steps, aware that a misstep could ripple through the city. As evening falls, the ziggurat glows under the moon, Nana's light a mirror of your devotion. You join a final ritual, standing on the highest terrace, the air cool and fragrant with night-blooming flowers. The city below is quiet, its fires mere pinpricks in the dark. You raise a hymn, your voice soft, and feel the weight of your role, not as a farmer bound to the earth, but as a priest bound to the stars. Your life is one of order, of silk and incense, yet it carries its own burdens, the constant need to please the gods and men. And so, the priests of yore lived apart, their world a contrast to the farmer's sweat and struggle. Their days were a dance of ritual and power, yet tethered to the same land, the same rivers. As you rest, let the ziggurat's shadow linger, its steps leading us to another tale, one of the tools that shaped this world. As the ziggurat of yore fades into the moonlight, let your mind drift to a quieter corner of Mesopotamia, to a sunlit room where the air smells of damp clay and reeds. While priests performed their rituals and farmers toiled in the fields, another craft was taking shape, one that would outlast empires and carry voices across millennia. This was the invention of writing, the slow, meticulous art of cuneiform, born in the cities of Sumer around 3400 BCE. Tonight, we follow the scribes who pressed wedges into clay, their work a bridge between the past and the present. Imagine yourself there, in a scribal school, as we explore the patient grind of creating the world's first script. Picture a small building in Uruk, its walls of mud brick cooled by the shade of date palms. The air is warm, carrying the scent of river mud and freshly cut reeds. You are a young scribe in training, seated on a woven mat, your legs crossed beneath a low wooden table. Before you lies a tablet of soft clay, its surface smooth and cool, the size of your palm. In your hand is a stylus, a reed sharpened to a point. its tip stained with clay from hours of practice. Around you, other students' boys from merchant or priestly families work in near silence, their styluses scratching softly. The room hums with focus, broken only by the teacher's low voice, correcting a mistake or reciting a list of signs. Your training began years ago when you were barely 10. Scribes were not born, but made, their skills honed through repetition and discipline. Imagine your first day, the air thick with the scent of dust and straw as you learned to prepare a tablet. You kneaded clay from the riverbank, your fingers sinking into its cool, pliable mass, and shaped it into a rectangle, smoothing its surface with a wooden tool. The clay was heavy, its dampness clinging to your skin, and you worked carefully, knowing a flawed tablet would be discarded. Once dry, it would harden, preserving your marks forever, or until water dissolved it back to mud. The heart of your work is cuneiform, a script named for its wedge-shaped marks, from the Latin cuneus, meaning wedge. Picture your stylus pressing into the clay, each push forming a tiny triangle or line. The marks are not letters, but symbols, some for words, others for sounds, others for numbers. You practice simple signs first, a cross for barley, a circle for sheep, a wavy line for water. Each requires precision, the angle of the stylus just so, the pressure firm but not too deep. Your hand aches, your fingers cramped, but you continue, the tablet filling with rows of neat wedges. A single mistake, a slip of the reed means starting over, the clay smoothed and reshaped. Your lessons are not only about writing but memorization. Imagine the teacher, his robe dusted with clay, reciting lists of goods. 10 measures of barley, 5 sheep, 3 jars of oil. You repeat them, your voice blending with the others, until the words are as familiar as your own breath. These lists are the backbone of cuneiform's purpose record-keeping for temples and kings. The temple needs to know its grain stores, the king his taxes, the merchant his debts. You write contracts, inventories, even letters, each tablet a snapshot of Mesopotamia's bustling life. The air in the room grows warmer as the sun climbs and sweat beads on your brow, but you focus, the rhythm of the stylus a quiet comfort. Not all your work is practical. As you advance, you copy stories, hymns, and laws. Picture a tablet inscribed with the tale of Gilgamesh, its hero seeking immortality, or a hymn to Inanna, her power woven into poetic lines. These texts are sacred, their words chosen with care, and you feel a quiet pride in preserving them. The clay is cool beneath your fingers, the stylus an extension of your thoughts. Yet the work is slow, each tablet takes hours, and a long text might fill dozens. Your eyes strain in the dim light, the oil lamps flicker casting shadows on the walls, and your back aches from hours of sitting. Errors are part of the grind. Imagine pressing a sign too deeply, the clay splitting under your stylus. You pause, your breath catching, and smooth the surface with a damp cloth, starting again. The teacher, ever watchful, might chide you, his voice calm but firm. Some tablets are baked in ovens to harden them, their surfaces turning a warm red, but most are left to dry in the sun, stacked in baskets like loaves of bread. The scent of baking clay fills the air, mingling with the tang of reeds and the faint sweetness of dates, brought as a midday snack. Life as a scribe is not without privilege. Unlike the farmer, you eat well flatbread, lentils, fish stew, and beer sweetened with honey. Your kilt is finer, your home a modest house with a courtyard, not a crowded hut. Yet your world is one of constant pressure. The temple demands accuracy, the king perfection. A misrecorded tax could mean punishment of fine, a demotion, or worse, the loss of your position. You work long hours, your fingers stained with clay, your mind heavy with lists and signs. The city depends on you, yet few notice your labor, your tablets stored in dusty archives, read only by other scribes. Cuneiform's invention was a revolution, though you, the scribe, might not see it. Picture Uruk centuries earlier, around 3400 BCE, when the first marks were made not for stories, but for counting grain. Those simple scratches grew into a system that captured language, laws, and dreams. By your time, cuneiform is used across Mesopotamia, from Sumer to Akkad, its signs adapted for new tongues. It is a tool of order, binding cities and empires, yet its creation was a slow grind, built on the patience of countless scribes like you. As evening falls, you finish your tablet, its surface a map of wedges, and place it to dry. The air cools, carrying the scent of river water and blooming jasmine. You step outside, the city alive with the hum of evening children playing, merchants closing their stalls, priests chanting in the distance. Your work is done, but tomorrow you will begin again, the stylus in your hand, the clay waiting. This is the scribe's life, one of quiet precision, of marks that outlast the hands that made them. And so, cuneiform was born not in a moment, but through centuries of labor, its wedges a testament to Mesopotamia's ingenuity. As you rest, let the scratch of the stylus linger, carrying us to another story, one of justice carved in stone. As the scratch of the scribe's stylus fades from your mind, let your thoughts drift to the great city of Babylon, some 1700 years before our era, where a king sought to bind his people with words carved in stone. The fields of Sumer, the ziggurats of yore, and the clay tablets of Urkesh all led to this moment, when law became a monument, its rules shaping lives from cradle to grave. This is the story of Hammurabi's Code, a set of laws etched around 1754 BCE, known for its promise of justice and its unyielding severity. Tonight we wander through Babylon's streets, exploring the code that governed its people, a balance of order and fear. Imagine yourself there, in the shadow of a stone stele, as we uncover what justice meant in Hammurabi's world. Picture Babylon at its height, a city of mud brick walls and bustling markets, its air thick with the scent of sesame oil, roasted barley, and river mud. The Euphrates flows through its heart, its waters glinting under a relentless sun. At the city's center stands the Esagila, a temple to Marduk, its ziggurat casting a long shadow over the streets. Somewhere nearby, in a public square, rises a black basalt stele, taller than a man, its surface polished to a sheen. This is Hammurabi's Code, its cuneiform script gleaming in the sunlight, a proclamation of the king's will. Crowds pass by, their sandals scuffing the dust, some pausing to hear scribes read its words aloud, their voices rising above the hum of the city. Hammurabi, the sixth king of Babylon, was a ruler of ambition and foresight. Imagine him in his palace, its walls hung with tapestries of lions and stars, the air cool with the scent of cedar. His beard is curled, his robe heavy with gold thread, and his eyes are sharp, weighing the needs of his empire. Babylon was a patchwork of cities and tribes, its people divided by wealth, status, and custom. Hammurabi sought to unify them, not only through conquest, but through law. The code, he claimed, was a gift from Shamash, the sun god, a divine blueprint for justice. Its opening lines, carved in clay and stone, promise to protect the weak, to ensure right prevailed over wrong. The code itself is a list of 282 laws, each addressing a facet of life, trade, marriage, theft, injury, and more. Picture a scribe in a quiet room, his stylus pressing wedges into clay, recording rules as precise as they are stern. The laws are written as conditions. If a man steals, he shall repay. If a builder's house collapses, killing the owner, the builder shall lose his life. The words are clear, their logic unyielding, and they cover the mundane and the profound. You, as a Babylonian, would know these laws, or at least their weight, their presence as constant as the river's flow. Some laws seem familiar, even fair. Imagine a marketplace, its stalls piled with wool, dates, and pottery, the air alive with the chatter of barter. A merchant accuses another of cheating, claiming short measure in a sack of grain. The code decrees that the guilty must repay double, a rule that keeps trade honest. Or picture a farmer, his field flooded by a neighbor's careless irrigation. The code orders compensation, grain for grain, restoring what was lost. These laws feel like justice, a shield for the common man, ensuring the city's hum continues unbroken. Yet the code's justice is not equal. Picture a court, its walls of baked brick, where a judge in a fringed robe hears a case. The air is heavy with the scent of wax and clay as scribes record the verdict. The code divides people into three classes: nobles, commoners, and slaves. A noble who harms another noble faces a fine, but a commoner who strikes a noble might lose a hand. A slave, lowest of all, could be punished with death for a minor offense. The laws reflect a world of hierarchy where status shapes fate. As a farmer, you would feel this divide. Your life valued less than a priest's, your voice softer in the court's echo. The code's punishments are its most famous feature, often summarized as an eye for an eye. Imagine a dispute between two men, their voices rising in a dusty street. One has blinded the other in a brawl, and the code is clear. The offender's eye shall be taken. The act is not described, only decreed, its consequence a shadow over the city. Other punishments are harsher. A thief might lose his hand, a false accuser his life. These rules aimed to deter, to make the cost of crime too high, but they also bound Babylon in fear. You, as a citizen, would walk carefully, knowing a single misstep could bring ruin. Not all laws were about punishment. Picture a family in a mud-brick house, its air cool with evening, the scent of lentils simmering on a fire. A woman seeks divorce, her voice steady as she faces the judge. The code allows it, but she must return her dowry, a heavy price for freedom. Another law protects orphans, ensuring their inheritance is safe, while others govern debt, limiting how long a man could be enslaved for unpaid loans. These rules show a society wrestling with fairness, trying to balance mercy with order, though always under the king's watchful eye. The code's creation was a feat of administration. Imagine Hammurabi's court, its tables piled with clay tablets, as scribes compiled laws from older Sumerian traditions and new decrees. The air hums with the scratch of styluses, the scent of damp clay mingling with incense. The stele itself was a masterwork, carved by artisans whose chisels sang against the stone. Copies were sent to other cities, their words read aloud in temples and squares, ensuring all knew the king's justice. The stele's top shows Hammurabi before Shamash, his hand raised, a symbol of divine approval that silenced dissent. Yet was it justice or tyranny? Picture a farmer, his back bent from years in the fields, standing before the stele. The laws protect his crops, but also demand his grain for taxes, his sons for the army. A noble might escape with a fine, but he faces lashes for the same crime. The code's clarity is a double-edged sword, offering order but little mercy. Some laws seem cruel. A son who strikes his father could lose his hand. A surgeon whose patient dies might face the same. These rules reflect a world where stability trumped compassion, where the king's word was law and the god's will was final. The code's legacy is its endurance. Picture the stele centuries later, carried off by Elamite raiders, its surface still sharp in a foreign land. Rediscovered in 1901, it now rests in a museum, its cuneiform a window into Babylon's heart. It shaped later laws, its echoes in the Bible's eye for an eye, its logic in the courts of Greece and Rome. For Babylonians, it was a constant presence, a stone that judged their lives from the merchant's scales to the farmer's plow. As you lie there, let the stell's shadow linger, its wedges a testament to a world of order and fear. Hammurabi's code was not just law, but a mirror of its people, their struggles etched in stone. Now, let us drift to another tale, one of a story older than Babylon itself. As the shadow of Hammurabi's stele fades from your mind, let your thoughts drift to a quieter moment in Mesopotamia, to a firelit courtyard where the air is cool and fragrant with jasmine. The laws and labors of Babylon recede, and now we turn to a story, one of the oldest ever told, carved into clay tablets over 4,000 years ago. This is the Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale of a king, a friend, and a quest for meaning, born in the city of Uruk. Tonight, we retell its key moments, not with the fire of adventure, but with the gentle rhythm of a bedtime story, perfect for drifting into dreams. Imagine yourself there, seated among listeners, as the words of Gilgamesh unfold like a river under the stars. Picture Uruk, its mighty walls rising from the plains, their mud brick surfaces glowing in the twilight. The air carries the scent of baking bread and river mud, and the city hums with the voices of its people, merchants, priests, and farmers, all bound by the will of their king Gilgamesh. He is no ordinary ruler, but a man of legend, 2/3 god, 1/3 mortal, his strength unmatched, his pride a towering force. Imagine him striding through the streets, his bronze armor gleaming, his beard curled, his eyes alight with restless energy. The people admire him, but they also weary of his demands, endless building projects, feasts, and challenges that test their patience. The gods, watching from above, hear the people's murmurs. In their celestial council, where the air is thick with the scent of ambrosia, they decide to balance Gilgamesh's fire. They call upon Aru, goddess of creation, who kneels by a riverbank, her hands shaping clay as soft as dawn. From this clay rises Enkidu, a wild man, his body covered in hair, his strength a match for Gilgamesh. Picture him roaming the hills, his footsteps silent on the earth, drinking with gazelles at waterholes, his breath mingling with the cool morning air. Enkidu is free, untouched by city walls, his life a dance with the wild. Fate brings Enkidu to Uruk, drawn by tales of Gilgamesh's might. Imagine a dusty square, the air alive with the chatter of onlookers as the two men meet. Their first encounter is not gentle. They wrestle, their feet shaking the ground, their grunts echoing off the walls. The crowd holds its breath, the scent of sweat and earth rising around them. But as they grapple, something shifts. Their strength finds equilibrium, and they pause, their eyes meeting, not as rivals, but as equals. Laughter breaks the tension, and Gilgamesh, for the first time, knows friendship. The air softens, the crowd disperses, and the two sit by a fire, sharing bread and beer, their voices low under the stars. Their bond leads to a quest, a journey to the cedar forest, home of Humbaba, a monstrous guardian set by the gods. Picture them marching through plains, the air thick with the scent of wild thyme, their sandals scuffing the dust. The forest looms ahead, its cedars towering, their branches casting shadows like woven nets. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of resin, and a low hum, like a distant growl, fills the silence. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, their bronze swords at their sides, step into the gloom, their hearts steady but their steps cautious. Humbaba emerges, his form a shadow of terror, his voice a rumble that shakes the earth. The battle is fierce but swift, their blades finding their mark, and Humbaba falls, his life fading into the forest silence. The victory is bittersweet. The gods, angered by Humbaba's end, decree a price. Picture Enkidu, back in Uruk, his strength waning as a fever takes hold. The air in his chamber is heavy, the scent of herbs and wax failing to mask his decline. Gilgamesh sits by his side, his hand gripping Enkidu's, his eyes tracing the lines of a face now pale. Enkidu speaks softly of the wild hills, of their friendship, until his breath slows, and he is gone. The city is quiet, the air still, as Gilgamesh weeps, his voice a low moan, like wind through a broken reed. Death, he learns, spares no one, not even the mighty. This loss drives Gilgamesh to a new quest, not for glory, but for immortality. Imagine him leaving Uruk, his cloak tattered, his feet blistered on endless roads. The air shifts from the warmth of plains to the chill of mountains, the scent of dust giving way to pine. He seeks Utnapishtim, a man who survived the great flood and was granted eternal life. Picture Gilgamesh crossing a sea, its waters dark and endless, the air salty, the stars his only guide. He finds Utnapishtim in a distant land, his home a simple hut, its walls weathered by time. The old man's voice is calm, his eyes kind, as he tells of the flood, of gods who spared him, but he offers no easy answers. Immortality, he says, is not for mortals. Utnapishtim challenges Gilgamesh to stay awake 7 days, a test of divine endurance. Picture Gilgamesh sitting by a fire, the air cool, the scent of cedar smoke curling around him. His eyelids grow heavy, the rhythm of the waves a lullaby, and he sleeps, each day marked by a loaf of bread placed beside him. When he wakes, 7 loaves stand as proof of his failure, their crusts dusted with sand. Utnapishtim speaks gently, his words a mirror. Life is fleeting, but its meaning lies in what we build, what we love. Gilgamesh, weary but wiser, returns to Uruk, his steps slower, his heart heavier. Back in his city, Gilgamesh rules not as a god, but as a man. Picture him on Uruk's walls, the air warm with evening, the scent of river reeds rising from below. He looks over his people, their fires flickering, their lives a quiet hum. The epic ends not with triumph, but with acceptance, a king who knows death, but chooses life. The tablets, inscribed by scribes, preserve his story, their clay cool to the touch, their wedges a bridge across time. As you rest, let the tale of Gilgamesh linger, the cedar forest, the firelit square, the sea's endless song. It is a story of friendship, loss, and the search for meaning, told to lull you into dreams. Now, let us drift to another facet of this world, to the remedies that soothed its people. As the tale of Gilgamesh fades, its echoes of loss and longing settling into the night, let your mind drift to a quieter corner of Mesopotamia, to a small room where the air is thick with the scent of herbs and wax. The epic spoke of mortality, of a king who could not escape death's shadow. And now we turn to those who faced that shadow daily, not with swords, but with chants, potions, and hope. In the cities of Sumer, Akkad, and Babylon, illness was a constant companion, and healers, known as asses, sought to ease its grip. Tonight, we explore Mesopotamian medicine, a world of leeches, prayers, and fragile remedies, where the line between science and spirit blurred. Imagine yourself there, in a healer's hut, as we uncover the quiet struggle to mend body and soul. Picture a modest dwelling in Ur, around 2000 BCE. Its mud brick walls smoothed by hand, its roof a lattice of reeds letting in slivers of sunlight. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of crushed coriander, garlic, and river mud. You are a patient, perhaps a farmer from our first tale, your body aching from a fever that has lingered for days. The room is small, its floor packed dirt, and a low table holds the healer's tools. Clay jars of herbs, a bronze knife, a bowl of water clouded with silt. A fire burns in a corner, its smoke curling upward, mingling with the tang of burning cedar. The healer, a man or woman trained in ancient lore, moves with calm precision, their robe stained with oil and clay, their voice a low murmur of incantations. Illness in Mesopotamia was not merely physical. Imagine the healer's explanation, their words soft but firm. Your fever is the work of a demon, perhaps Lamashtu, who preys on the weak, or a god's displeasure for some forgotten sin. The air hums with their chant, a plea to Gula, goddess of healing, whose dog-shaped amulets hang above the door, their clay surfaces cool to the touch. This belief shaped every remedy, blending observation with faith. The healer examines you, their fingers pressing your brow, noting the heat of your skin, the quickness of your breath. They consult a clay tablet, its cuneiform listing symptoms and cures, passed down through generations of asses. Your treatment begins with a potion. Picture the healer grinding herbs, myrrh, fennel, and tamarisk on a stone slab, their pestles scraping rhythmically, the air filling with a sharp, earthy scent. They mix the powder with beer, its sour tang masking the bitterness, and hand you a clay cup, its surface rough against your lips. You drink slowly, the liquid warm, its grit catching in your teeth. The recipe comes from a tablet, one of thousands that survive, describing remedies for fevers, coughs, or pains in the belly. Some ingredients are familiar onions, dates, honey, others strange, like crushed turtle shell or river silt, believed to draw out the demon's hold. If the potion fails, the healer turns to other methods. Imagine them placing leeches on your arm, their slick bodies cold against your skin, their bite a faint pinch. The air grows heavy with the metallic scent of blood, collected in a small bowl to appease the spirits. Leeches were common, used to balance the body's humors, a practice rooted in careful observation, though its success was uncertain. The healer watches closely, their eyes tracing the leech's slow movements, ensuring they do not take too much. You lie still, the fire's warmth a small comfort, the chant of prayers a steady rhythm in the background. For some ailments, the healer resorts to ritual. Picture a clay figurine, shaped like a demon, its features crude but menacing, placed beside you. The healer sprinkles it with water, their voice rising in a chant to banish the evil spirit. The air feels charged, the scent of incense, frankincense, and myrrh curling through the room. Its smoke a veil between worlds. They tie an amulet around your neck, a small stone carved with Gula's name, its weight a quiet reassurance. These acts are not mere superstition, but a language of hope, a way to face the unknown when potions and leeches fall short. Surgery, though rare, was not unknown. Imagine a different patient, a merchant with a swollen limb, perhaps from a fall. The healer, their hand steady, prepares a bronze knife, its blade glinting in the firelight. The air is tense, the scent of alcohol used to clean the wound sharp and biting. They cut carefully, draining fluid, their movements guided by texts that describe the body's channels. Pain is a constant, dulled only by beer or a paste of poppy seeds, its bitter taste lingering on the tongue. The wound is bound with linen, smeared with honey to ward off infection, a practice that, by chance, worked well. Such procedures were risky, and many did not survive, their lives slipping away despite the healer's skill. The healer's knowledge came from observation and tradition. Picture a scribal school like the one we visited, where asses learned their craft. The air smells of clay and reeds, and tablets list symptoms. If a man's head burns, give him mint. If his eyes weep, wash them with milk. These texts show a keen eye for patterns, fevers that rise at night, coughs that worsen in winter, but no understanding of germs or anatomy as we know it. Demons and gods filled the gaps. There will a reason for every cure or failure. The healer's role was to navigate this balance, their chants as vital as their herbs. Life as a healer was not easy. Imagine their nights spent mixing remedies or praying over a child whose breath grows faint. The air is heavy with worry, the scent of oil lamps mingling with the family's fear. Success brought respect gifts of grain or wool, but failure could mean blame, even exile, if a patient's death was deemed a curse. Healers served all, from farmers to nobles, but their fees were high, often beyond a farmer's means. You, the patient, might offer a lamb or a sack of barley, your hands trembling as you hand it over, knowing it leaves your family hungry. The limits of Mesopotamian medicine were stark. Fevers, infections, and injuries often prevailed, their toll felt in every village. A child's cough could fade, or it could steal her breath forever, her small form stilled in a mother's arms. The healer would mourn quietly, their prayers unanswered, and move on to the next patient, the next hope. Yet their work laid a foundation, their tablets the first medical texts, their remedies a step toward understanding the body's fragile dance. As you lie there, let the healer's hut linger, the fire's glow, the scent of herbs, the chant of prayers. Mesopotamian medicine was a blend of faith and effort, a quiet fight against the unknown. Now, let us drift to another part of this world, to the markets where life pulsed with trade and trickery. As the healer's hut fades, its herbs and prayers settling into memory, let your mind drift to the heart of a Mesopotamian city, to the crowded streets of Ur around 2000 BCE, the quiet struggles of farmers. Scribes and healers give way to a different rhythm, now one of voices, barter, and the pulse of commerce. The market of Ur was the lifeblood of the city, a place where grain, wool, and dreams changed hands under the watchful eyes of merchants and gods. Tonight, we wander through its stalls, where the air is alive with scents and sounds, exploring the trade that bound Mesopotamia together and the trickery that thrived in its shadows. Imagine yourself there, in the dusty bustle, as we step into the market's endless dance. Picture the market square, a wide expanse of packed earth near the city's center, its edges framed by mud-brick buildings with flat roofs. The sun hangs high, its heat softened by awnings of woven reeds stretched above the stalls. The air is a tapestry of scents: roasted barley, ripe dates, the sharp tang of fish drying on racks, and the earthy musk of livestock penned nearby. Voices fill the space, a gentle cacophony of Sumerian and Akkadian, merchants calling out wares, buyers haggling, children darting through the crowd. You move among them, your sandals scuffing the dust, your kilt brushing against baskets of onions and jars of oil. The ziggurat looms in the distance, its white plaster gleaming, a reminder of the gods who oversee every transaction. The market is a mosaic of goods, each stall a small world. Imagine pausing at a weaver's table, its surface piled with bolts of wool and cloth, their colors ochre, blue, crimson vivid in the sunlight. Your fingers graze the fabric, its texture coarse but strong, dyed with madder root or indigo traded from distant lands. Nearby, a potter displays clay vessels, their surfaces glazed with patterns of fish or stars, their cool weight tempting you to linger. Another stall offers barley, its golden grains heaped in woven baskets, the scent of earth clinging to them. You hear the clink of bronze weights as a merchant measures a portion, his balance scale swaying gently, his eyes sharp for any sleight of hand. Trade in yore is not local alone. Picture a caravan arriving, its donkeys laden with goods from afar. The air carries the scent of cedar from Lebanon, its wood prized for temples, and the faint glitter of lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, its deep blue a treasure for priests and kings. Tin from the northern mountains, used to forge bronze, sits in heavy ingots, while shells from the Persian Gulf gleam in baskets destined for amulets. Merchants, their kilts fringed with silver, speak in low tones, their words a mix of languages, their hands gesturing to seal a deal. The market is a crossroads, a place where Mesopotamia meets the world, its goods a map of ancient roots. Haggling is the market's heartbeat. Imagine approaching a stall, your eyes on a jar of sesame oil, its golden surface catching the light. The merchant, his beard oiled, names a price 2 shekels of barley. You counter, offering one, your voice calm but firm, and the dance begins. The air hums with similar exchanges, voices rising and falling like a tide. The merchant gestures to the oil's quality, its scent pure, while you point to a rival stall, its price is lower. Minutes pass, the sun warm on your back, until you settle on a deal, a shekel and a half, sealed with a nod. The transaction is recorded on a clay tablet, its surface cool under the scribe's stylus, ensuring no dispute lingers. Yet the market is not all honesty. Trickery thrives in the crowd's chaos. Picture a less scrupulous merchant, his smile wide, offering barley mixed with chaff, its weight deceptive. You, a farmer, might spot the ruse, your hand sifting the grain, but a city dweller, unused to the field, could be fooled. Scales are tampered, weight shaved just enough to tip the balance, and oil is watered down, its sheen masking the deceit. The Code of Hammurabi, which we explored, looms over these acts. Cheaters must repay double or face fines, but enforcement is uneven, and clever merchants slip through. You learn to watch closely, your eyes tracing every movement, the air thick with suspicion as well as spice. The market serves all classes, but not equally. Imagine a noble, his robe heavy with gold thread, moving through the crowd, servants clearing his path. He buys lapis beads or cedar planks, his purchases measured in silver, his wealth a shield against haggling. Nearby, a farmer like you, your kilt patched, trades a sack of barley for a single tool, your hands trembling as you part with your harvest. Slaves, their heads shaved, carry goods for their masters, their eyes downcast, their presence a reminder of the city's hierarchy. The air shifts with each transaction, the scent of wealth perfume, silver clashing with the dust of labor. Daily life weaves through the market. Picture women balancing baskets on their heads, their laughter soft as they barter for fish. Children chase each other, dodging a donkey's hooves, their shouts blending with the bleat of goats. A priest, his robe white, buys oil for the temple, his presence quieting the crowd. The air grows warmer as noon approaches, and vendors offer beer, its sour tang a relief, or flatbread smeared with date paste, its sweetness a fleeting joy. You pause, eating slowly, the bread's crust crumbling in your hands. The market's hum a steady lullaby. The market's rhythm is not without risk. Imagine a sudden shout, a thief caught, his wrist seized by a guard. The air tenses, the scent of sweat rising, as the crowd watches the law take hold. Hammurabi's code promises harsh penalties, hands cut off, fines tripled, but such moments are rare, the market's flow too vital to disrupt. More common are disputes, voices rising over short measures or broken pots, settled by scribes or elders in the shade of a palm. The market is a stage, its dramas small but constant, its players bound by need and cunning. As evening falls, the market quiets. Picture the square now, the sun low, its light casting long shadows. Stalls close, their awnings rolled, the air cooling with the scent of river water and blooming tamarisk. Merchants count their gains, their bronze weights clinking, while porters carry unsold goods to storerooms. You leave, your basket lighter, your heart heavy with the cost of trade. The market is Ur's pulse, a place of connection and deceit, its hum a song of survival. As you rest, let the market's bustle linger, the clink of scales, the scent of dates, the murmur of voices. It was a world where every exchange told a story of want, wit, and the ties that bound a city. Now, let us drift to another tale, one of a flood that shaped Mesopotamia's dreams. As the market of yore fades, its voices and scents dissolving into the evening, let your mind drift to the rivers that cradled Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates, lifeblood of its cities, yet ever unpredictable. The bustle of trade and the laws of kings rested on these waters, but so too did stories, tales whispered by firesides, etched into clay, of a time when the rivers rose to swallow the world. The story of the Great Flood, found in Sumerian and Babylonian texts, is one of destruction and survival, a myth that echoes across cultures. Tonight we explore this tale, its roots in the land's volatile rivers, and the question of whether it holds a kernel of truth. Imagine yourself there, by a swollen riverbank, as we delve into the flood that shaped Mesopotamia's dreams. Picture a small village near Uruk, around 2500 BCE, its mud brick huts clustered close to the Euphrates. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming tamarisk. As clouds gather on the horizon, their edges dark and brooding. You stand by the river, its waters churning, higher than usual, its surface flecked with debris reeds, branches, a broken pot. The villagers whisper, their voices low, of the god's anger, of Enlil, the storm god, who commands the winds and rains. The air feels charged, the breeze carrying a chill, and you sense the river's power, a force that gives life but can just as easily take it. The flood story begins with the gods, gathered in their celestial hall, where the air is fragrant with ambrosia and the hum of divine voices. The oldest version, from Sumerian texts, tells of a world grown noisy, its people too numerous, their clamor disturbing Enlil's rest. Picture him, his eyes like lightning, decreeing a flood to silence the earth. The other gods, Anu, the Sky Father, and Inanna, the goddess of love, agree, though Ea, the god of wisdom, takes pity. He whispers to a man, Ziusudra in Sumerian tales, or Utnapishtim in later Babylonian ones, warning him of the coming deluge. The air and ease message is soft, like a breath through reeds, carrying hope to a mortal chosen to survive. Imagine Ziusudra, a humble man, perhaps a priest, standing by his hut as E's voice reaches him. The river glints under a stormy sky, its waters restless, and the air smells of rain and clay. Ea instructs him to build a boat, vast and sturdy, its frame woven of reeds and sealed with pitch. Picture Zausura at work, his hands sticky with bitumen, its sharp scent clinging to his skin. Villagers help, their sandals sinking into the mud, their voices hushed with fear or doubt. The boat takes shape, square and roofed, like a floating house, its interior dark and cool. Ziusudra loads it with his family, animals, goats, sheep, birds, and stores of grain, the air inside heavy with the musk of livestock and the tang of barley. The flood comes with a roar. Picture the sky splitting, rain falling in sheets, the air a blur of water and wind. The Euphrates bursts its banks, its waters a churning brown, swallowing fields and huts. The village vanishes, its walls dissolving into mud, the cries of those left behind lost in the storm's howl. Ziusudra's boat rises, its frame creaking, the air inside damp and close, filled with the bleat of goats and the murmurs of his family. For 7 days and nights the waters rage, the world a sea without end, the air thick with the scent of rain and fear. The gods, watching from above, grow quiet, some regretting their decree, their voices a faint hum in the deluge. When the rain stops, silence falls. Picture the boat grounded on a hill, perhaps Mount Nisir, its hull crusted with mud, the air now clear, carrying the scent of wet earth and pine. Ziusudra steps out, his feet sinking into the soft ground, the sky above a pale blue, streaked with clouds. He offers a sacrifice, burning cedar and myrrh, their smoke curling upward, a sweet plea to the gods. The air grows warm, the scent of the offering mingling with the freshness of a world reborn. Enlil, softened, grants Ziusudra eternal life, a rare gift, and the gods vow never again to flood the earth, their promise sealed with a rainbow, its colors faint against the sky. This story, carved into tablets, was told and retold, its echoes in the Epic of Gilgamesh, where Utnapishtim shares it with the hero. Picture a scribe, his stylus pressing wedges into clay, the air cool in a quiet room, preserving the tale for generations. The flood became a cornerstone of Mesopotamian thought, a reminder of the gods' power and the fragility of life. It shaped rituals, prayers, and even laws, its shadow lingering in every swollen river, every storm cloud. The air of Mesopotamia, so often dry, carried this story like a current from Sumer to Babylon, its words a comfort against the unknown. But was there a flood? Picture archaeologists, centuries later, digging through Mesopotamia's tells, their trowels scraping layers of earth. The air is dusty, the scent of clay sharp, as they uncover flood deposits, thick bands of silt dated to around 2900 BCE. In cities like Ur and Kish, these layers, smooth and distinct, suggest a massive inundation, perhaps a river bursting its banks after heavy rains or a storm surge from the Persian Gulf. The flood may not have covered the world, but for a city like Ur, its fields and homes erased, it was cataclysmic. The air would have been heavy with loss, the scent of mud and ruin lingering for years. Not all agree the myth reflects a single event. Picture the rivers, their floods a yearly threat, their waters both nurturing and destructive. Farmers, like those we met, lived in their shadow, their lives shaped by the cycle of inundation. The air after a flood was thick with the scent of silt and decay. The fields reborn, but the cost high homes lost, families displaced. The story may weave these smaller floods into one, a collective memory of survival, its details polished by generations of storytellers. The air of Mesopotamia, humid and restless, carried these tales, blending fact with faith. The flood story's reach extends beyond clay tablets. Picture its echoes in later cultures, the Hebrew Noah, the Greek Deucalion, each a variation on a theme of water and rebirth. The air of these stories, though distant, feels familiar, their rhythms soothing across time. In Mesopotamia, the flood was a lesson, a call to honor the gods, to build boats, to endure. It was a story told to children, to farmers, to kings, its words a lullaby against the river's roar. As you rest, let the flood's waters linger, the rain's soft patter, the boat's creak, the scent of cedar smoke. It is a tale of loss and renewal, a whisper from a land where rivers ruled. Now, let us drift to another story, one of the women who shaped this world. As the waters of the great flood recede, their ripples fading into the night, let your mind drift back to the sunlit plains of Sumer, to the cities of Uruk, Ur, and Lagash around 2500 BCE. The rivers that shaped their stories also cradled the lives of their people, and among them were women mothers, priestesses, weavers, and wives, whose presence wove through the fabric of this ancient world. While farmers plowed fields and kings carved laws, women held roles that ranged from sacred to subservient, their lives a balance of power and constraint. Tonight, we wander through Sumer's homes and temples, exploring the women who shaped its heart, their stories etched in clay and shadow. Imagine yourself there, in a bustling courtyard, as we uncover whether Sumerian women were masters of their fate or bound as property. Picture a modest house in Ur, its mud brick walls cooled by the shade of a date palm. The air is warm, carrying the scent of baking flatbread and the faint tang of river mud. You are a woman of a common family, perhaps a farmer's wife, your day beginning as the first light creeps through a reed window. Your kilt is simple, woven from wool, its hem frayed from years of wear, and your hair is bound with a linen scarf, its texture soft against your skin. The courtyard hums with activity children playing, a loom clacking rhythmically, the bleat of a goat tethered nearby. Your role is central, yet unseen, a thread in the household survival. Your morning is spent preparing food. Imagine kneading barley dough, your hands dusted with flour, the air thick with the scent of yeast and wood smoke. You shape flatbreads, their surfaces browning on a clay oven, and stir a pot of lentil stew, its aroma spiced with coriander. The work is steady, your movements practiced, the rhythm a quiet comfort. You serve the meal to your family, their voices low as they eat, and save a portion for the gods, a small offering placed at a household shrine, its clay statue of a Nana gleaming in the sunlight. The air feels sacred, the act tying you to the divine, a small power in a world ruled by men. As a wife, your role extends beyond the hearth. Picture the fields beyond the city, where your husband labors. You join him, your back bent under the sun, planting barley or gathering reeds, the earth cool beneath your feet. The air hums with the buzz of insects, and sweat beads on your brow, your scarf damp against your neck. At home, you spin wool, your fingers twisting fibers into thread, or weave cloth on a loom, its wooden frame creaking softly. These tasks are vital, your cloth traded in the market, your harvest feeding the family, yet your name is rarely spoken beyond the walls. The air carries your labor, but not your voice. Not all women live this life. Imagine a different scene, high atop the ziggurat, where priestesses serve the gods. Picture a woman, perhaps Enheduanna, the world's first named author, daughter of Sargon of Akkad. The air is cool, fragrant with myrrh burning in bronze censers, and her robe is fine linen, its hem embroidered with silver. She composes hymns to Inanna, her words carved into clay, their rhythm a prayer that echoes through the temple. The air hums with her chants, her voice a bridge to the divine. As a high priestess, she holds land, wealth, and influence, her presence commanding respect, her power rivaling that of kings. Yet even she is bound, her role defined by her father's will, her life a balance of autonomy and duty. Other women held less sacred roles. Picture a tavern in Orr's Market, its air thick with the scent of sour beer and roasted fish. A woman, perhaps a widow, runs the place, her hands pouring barley brew into clay cups, her laughter blending with the patron's chatter. She is a sabitu, a tavern keeper, her business thriving on trade and gossip. The air feels lively, the clink of bronze coins a steady rhythm, but her freedom is fragile, her wealth subject to laws that favor men. Hammurabi's code, which we explored, allows her to own property, but a bad debt or a false accusation could strip it away, the air turning heavy with the threat of loss. Marriage defined many women's lives. Imagine a betrothal, the air warm in a family's courtyard, the scent of date wine mingling with jasmine. You, a young woman, stand beside your father as he negotiates your dowry grain, cloth, a silver ring. The groom's family offers gifts, their voices measured, the air tense with expectation. The code protects you, ensuring your dowry remains yours in divorce, but the choice is rarely yours alone. Once married, you manage the household, your authority growing with age, but infidelity or barrenness could see you cast out, the air cold with shame. The laws are clear, their words etched in clay, but they bend toward men, your fate tied to their honor. Some women lived as property. Picture a slave, her head shaved, her kilt patched, carrying water through Ur's streets. The air is dusty, the jar heavy on her shoulder, its clay cool against her skin. Captured in war or born into servitude, she works in a noble's house, her hands grinding grain or cleaning floors, the scent of sweat and oil her constant companion. The code offers small protections. She cannot be sold if she bears her master's child, but her life is not her own, the air heavy with the weight of chains unseen. Yet even she might earn freedom, her labor buying a chance to join the market's hum, a faint hope in a world of hierarchy. The lives of Sumerian women were not all toil. Imagine a festival, the air alive with music lyres and drums, the scent of roasted lamb and incense rising from the ziggurat. You join the crowd, your scarf bright with dye, your laughter soft as you dance with other women, your feet light on the earth. These moments are rare, the air warm with joy, but they bind you to the community. Your role as mother, weaver, or priestess celebrated, if only for a night. The gods watch, their statues gleaming, and the air feels alive, a fleeting escape from duty. The clay tablets tell of women's lives, their names sometimes preserved: Pwabi, a queen buried with treasures; Shubad, a midwife; Amaduga, a merchant's wife. Picture a scribe, his stylus scratching, the air cool in a quiet room, recording their deeds. These women shaped Sumer, their hands spinning the threads of family, faith, and trade. Yet their stories are fragments, their voices faint. The air of Mesopotamia carried their strength, but also their silence, a balance of power and property that defined their world. As you rest, let the courtyard linger, the looms clack, the scent of bread, the hum of women's voices. They were the heart of Sumer, their lives a quiet force. Now, let us drift to another story, one of a city under siege, where survival hung by a thread. As the voices of summer's women fade, their looms and laughter softening into memory, let your mind drift to a darker moment in Mesopotamia's history, to the city of Nippur around 2200 BCE. The bustling markets, the sacred ziggurats, and the stories of floods gave way, at times, to the shadow of conflict, when walls meant to protect became cages. Nippur, a holy city devoted to the god Enlil, faced such a fate during a siege that tested its people's resilience. Tonight, we walk through its streets, not with the clash of armies, but with the quiet struggle of those trapped within, their lives bound by hunger and hope. Imagine yourself there, behind Nippur's gates, as we explore a city that starved under siege. Picture Nippur, its mud brick walls rising from the plains, their surfaces baked hard by the sun. The air is dry, carrying the scent of dust and tamarisk, though attention underlies the usual hum of city life. The Euphrates lies nearby, its waters glinting, but its banks are now a battleground. Beyond the walls, an enemy, perhaps Akkadian forces or a rival city-state, has encamped, their tents dotting the horizon, their fires mere pinpricks in the dusk. The air feels heavy, the scent of smoke faint but growing, as Nippur's gates are sealed, its people cut off from fields and trade. You are a citizen, perhaps a potter or a weaver. Your life once measured by clay and thread, now by the dwindling stores of grain. The siege begins quietly, its weight settling over the city like a shroud. Imagine waking in your mud brick home, the air cool with dawn, the reed roof letting in slivers of light. Your family gathers around a small fire, its smoke curling upward, the scent of barley porridge weaker than yesterday. The market, once alive with voices, is nearly empty, its stalls bare, the air thick with the absence of roasted fish or fresh dates. You ration your food, a handful of grain per day, the clay jar in your storeroom growing lighter, its cool surface a reminder of better times. The children's eyes are wide, their questions unanswered, and the air carries a silence that presses against your chest. Days turn to weeks, and the city's rhythm slows. Picture the streets, once bustling, now quiet, their dust undisturbed save for the shuffle of sandaled feet. The air grows warm, the sun relentless, and you join others at the temple, its walls painted with scenes of gods and stars. The priests chant, their voices low, offering prayers to Enlil, whose ziggurat looms over the city, its plaster chipped but proud. You kneel, the clay floor cool beneath you, and place a small offering, a withered fig, all you can spare before the god statue, its lapis eyes gleaming in the lamplight. The air hums with hope, but doubt lingers, the god's silence as heavy as the enemy's presence. Hunger becomes a constant companion. Imagine your stomach, a dull ache that never fades, the taste of stale bread lingering on your tongue. You chew slowly, each bite a calculation, the air thick with the scent of unwashed bodies and fear. Water, drawn from wells within the walls, is rationed, its taste muddy, its surface clouded with silt. You share a cup with your family, the clay cool against your lips, and watch the children grow thinner, their laughter replaced by a quiet that cuts deeper than any blade. The air feels fragile, every sound a creak, a shout carrying the weight of survival. The enemy outside is a shadow, their presence felt but rarely seen. Picture standing on Nipper's walls, the air warm with midday, the scent of dust mingling with the faint smoke of campfires beyond. You see their lines, their spears glinting, their siege ramps rising slowly, each mound of earth a step closer to the city. At night, the air carries their drums, a low pulse that haunts your sleep, and the occasional thud of stones hurled against the walls, their impact shaking the ground. The city's defenders, archers in leather tunics, fire arrows into the dark, their flames brief and futile. The air grows tense, but the violence is distant, its cost measured not in blood, but in the slow grind of want. Within the walls, life adapts. Imagine a courtyard, its air cooler now, where women gather to share what little they have: millet, lentils, a handful of herbs. You grind grain on a stone, its scrape a steady rhythm, the scent of dust rising with each turn. Neighbors barter, a clay pot for a scrap of cloth, their voices low, their trust worn thin. Some hoard, others give, and the air hums with stories of a hidden cache of grain, of a merchant who fled, of omens in the sky. You listen, your hands busy. The looms clack a faint echo of normalcy, but the city's pulse is fading, its people bound by a shared struggle. The siege's toll is not only hunger. Imagine a neighbor, her cough worsening, the air in her hut heavy with the scent of sickness. Healers, their herbs nearly gone, offer chants and amulets, their voices weary. The clay figurines of Gula, powerless against fever. Families mourn quietly, their loved ones slipping away, the air thick with the weight of loss. Yet life persists. You mend a sandal, teach a child a prayer, share a story of better days, the air warm with the flicker of hope. The city's walls, though battered, stand, their mud brick a testament to Nipper's will. The siege's end is uncertain, the tablets vague. Picture a dawn, the air cool, the scent of rain on the horizon. Some say the enemy withdrew, their supplies exhausted, their fires fading into the plains. Others whisper of a breakout, Nipper's warriors driving the foe back, their victory costly but won. The air shifts, the gates creak open, and you step into the fields, their earth cracked but alive, the scent of new growth faint but real. The city breathes again, its people thinner, their eyes older, but their spirit unbroken. Nipper's siege is a footnote, its details lost to time, yet it mirrors Mesopotamia's cycles of strife and survival. The air of the city, once choked with fear, carried the resilience of its people, their lives a quiet defiance. As you rest, let Nippur's walls linger, the dust of its streets, the scent of barley, the hum of prayers. It was a city that endured, its story one of hunger and hope. Now, let us drift to another tale, one of the stars that guided Mesopotamia's nights. As the gates of Nippur open, the city's hunger fading into the dawn, let your mind drift upward, beyond the mud-brick walls and dusty plains, to the vast canopy of stars that arched over Mesopotamia. In the cities of Sumer and Babylon, the night sky was more than beauty. It was a tablet written by the gods, its patterns a guide for kings, priests, and farmers. By 1800 BCE, Babylonian priests had turned their eyes to the heavens, mapping constellations and reading omens in the dance of planets. Tonight, we stand atop a ziggurat, where the air is cool and the stars burn bright, exploring the quiet art of astronomy in Babylon. Imagine yourself there, under an endless sky, as we trace the stars that shaped a civilization's dreams. Picture Babylon at night, its streets quiet, the air fragrant with blooming jasmine and the faint tang of river water. The city sleeps, its fires dim, but atop the ziggurat of a Temenanki, dedicated to Marduk, a priest stands watch. You are with him, your robe light against the evening chill, your sandals silent on the baked clay steps. The ziggurat's summit is a wide platform, its surface smoothed by centuries, the air open to the heavens. Above, the sky is a tapestry of like stars scattered like seeds, planets glowing steadily, the moon a silver crescent casting shadows. The scent of myrrh rises from a censer, its smoke curling upward, a prayer to the gods who dwell in the stars. Your role is to observe, to record, to interpret. Imagine the priest, his beard streaked with gray, his eyes sharp despite the hours. He carries a clay tablet, its surface damp, and a stylus, its reed tip poised to mark the night's events. The air is still, the only sound the soft scratch of his writing, the hum of his low chants to Sign, the moon god, and Shamash, the sun. He notes the position of Ishtar, the planet Venus, its light a beacon in the west, and the slow arc of Marduk, the planet Jupiter, its glow steady above the horizon. The stars are not mere lights, but signs, their movements a language only the learned can read. Babylonian astronomy was born of patience. Picture centuries earlier in Sumer, where priests first named the stars. The air then was the same cool, clear, the scent of reeds rising from the rivers. They grouped stars into constellations, their shapes drawn from myth. The bull of heaven, its horns sharp against the dark. The scorpion, its tail curved. The chariot, its wheels eternal. By Babylon's time, these patterns were fixed, their names carved into clay, their paths tracked across seasons. You learned them, your eyes tracing the sky, the air alive with the weight of their stories. Gilgamesh, Inanna, the flood survivors, all woven into the heavens. The priest's tools were simple but precise. Imagine a water clock, its clay vessel dripping steadily, the air cool around its damp surface. It measures the hours, ensuring observations align with the night's rhythm. A gnomon, a wooden rod, casts shadows by moonlight, its angles marking the star's ascent. Tablets, stacked in the temple's archive, list past eclipses, comets, and planetary conjunctions, their cuneiform a record of centuries. The air in the archive smells of clay and wax, the tablets cool to the touch, their wedges a map of the sky's history. You study them, your fingers tracing the signs, learning to predict the moon's phases or Venus's return. Astronomy was not only science, but divination. Picture a night when the air shifts, a faint haze veiling the stars. The priest notes a lunar eclipse, the moon's edge darkening, its light swallowed by shadow. The air grows tense, the scent of myrrh sharper as he chants to avert disaster. Eclipses were omens, their meaning read in tablets called the Enuma Anu Enlo, their clay heavy with warnings. A darkened moon might foretell a king's fall, a comet a famine, a planet's pause a war. You assist, your stylus marking the event, the air thick with the weight of prophecy, though the god's will remains elusive. These omens shaped Babylon's life. Imagine a king, his palace lit by oil lamps, the air warm with cedar and spice. He summons the priest, his robe heavy with gold, to hear the star's message. The priest speaks calmly, his words measured. Jupiter's rise in the east promises victory, but a star's flicker warns of drought. The king listens, the air still, and adjusts his plans. A campaign delayed, a temple built. Farmers, too, relied on the stars, their planting time to the Pleiades' ascent, the air cool with spring, the scent of earth ready for seed. The sky bound all, its patterns a thread through every life. The priest's work was not without error. Picture a night when clouds gather, the air damp, the scent of rain faint but growing. The stars vanish, the priest's tablet blank, his chants unanswered. Predictions failed, eclipses missed, omens misread, and the air in the temple grew heavy with doubt. Yet the priests persisted, their observations refining over centuries, their tablets tracking cycles we now call the Saras, an 18-year pattern of eclipses. The air of Babylon, clear and vast, allowed such precision, its skies a canvas for discovery. Their legacy is profound. Picture a scribe, his stylus scratching, the air cool in a quiet room, recording a star's path. These records, preserved in clay, reached later cultures, Greeks, Persians, Arabs, their astronomy built on Babylon's foundation. The zodiac, the 360-degree circle, even our hours, trace back to these nights, the air alive with the priest's quiet labor. They saw the sky not as chaos, but as order, its stars a guide through time. As you rest, let the ziggurat summit linger, the stars glow, the scent of myrrh, the hum of chants. Babylonian astronomy was a dance of observation and faith, its light enduring beyond the rivers. Now, let us drift to another story, one of the labor that built Mesopotamia's dreams. As the stars of Babylon's sky dim, their light softening into the night, let your mind drift back to the plains of Sumer, where the cities of Uruk, Ur, and Nippur once thrived under the sun. The ziggurats, markets, and stargazers we've wandered through were the heartbeat of a civilization. But even the mightiest lands can fade. By 2000 BCE, Sumer, the cradle of cities and writing, began to slip into shadow, its glory eroded not by a single blow, but by a slow, relentless tide of change. Tonight, we walk through summer's final days, tracing the environmental and political currents that dimmed its light. Imagine yourself there, on a parched field, as we explore the quiet decline of a world that shaped our own. Picture a village near Lagash, its mud brick huts sagging under a relentless sun. The air is dry, thick with the scent of dust and withered reeds, a far cry from the lush plains of centuries past. The Euphrates, once a lifeline, flows weakly now, its banks crusted with salt, its waters barely reaching the fields. You stand among farmers, their faces lined with worry, their kilts patched. As they survey crops that droop in the heat, their barley stalks thin and brittle. The air feels heavy, the hum of insects the only sound, as the land itself seems to sigh under the weight of years. This is Sumer in decline, a land betrayed by the rivers that once sustained it. The story of summer's fall begins with the earth. Imagine centuries of farming, the air alive with the rhythm of plows and prayers. Farmers, like those we met, dug canals to guide the rivers, their waters nourishing fields of wheat and barley. But the rivers carried silt, their flow clogging channels, and the air grew humid with each flood, leaving salt in the soil. Picture a field, its surface white with crystals, the scent of salt sharp as you kneel to touch the earth. Irrigation, summer's triumph, became its curse, the land's fertility fading as crops failed, the air thick with the farmer's quiet despair. Climate, too, played a role. Picture the plains around 2200 BCE, the air growing drier, the scent of rain a distant memory. Archaeologists find clues in ancient lake beds, their sediment layers thin, suggesting drought. The rivers shrank, their waters insufficient for cities swollen with people. You, a farmer, would haul buckets from a dwindling canal, the clay cool but heavy, your back aching as you watered a shrinking plot. The air carried whispers of famine, of families leaving for northern lands, their footsteps fading into the dust. Summer's cities, once vibrant, grew quieter, their markets half empty, the scent of roasted fish replaced by want. Political strife deepened the wound. Imagine Ur, its ziggurat still proud, but its streets tense with the murmur of unrest. The air smells of smoke, not from hearths, but from distant raids. Summer's city-states, long rivals, weakened each other with wars over water and land, their bronze spears glinting in the sun. By 2100 BCE, the third dynasty of Ur briefly united them, its kings building temples and canals, the air alive with hope. But their rule was fragile, the scent of incense and the ziggurat masking growing discontent. Taxes were heavy, the air thick with the weight of forced labor, and farmers, already struggling, gave more than they could spare. Enemies saw summer's weakness. Picture the Elamites from the eastern hills, their armies marching across the plains, the air trembling with the thud of sandaled feet. Around 2004 BCE, they sacked Ur, its walls breached, its treasures carried off. The air grew heavy with the scent of burning cedar, the city's heart broken, its people scattered or enslaved. The lament for Ur, carved in clay, speaks of this loss, its words a wail of gods abandoning their home, the air silent where hymns once rose. You, a survivor, would flee, your family clutching what little you could carry, the scent of dust and fear your only companions. Nomads, too, pressed inward. Imagine the Amorites, pastoral tribes from the west, their tents dotting the plains, the air carrying the musk of their herds. As summer's cities faltered, these tribes settled, their leaders seizing power. The air shifted, Sumerian giving way to Akkadian tongues, the scent of new fires rising in old streets. By 1900 BCE, Babylon, under Amorite kings like Hammurabi, eclipsed Sumer, its ziggurat outshining ours. The air of Mesopotamia changed, summer's cities shrinking to villages, their walls crumbling, the scent of mud brick blending with sand. The decline was not sudden. Picture Nippur, its temple to Enlil still standing, the air cool with evening as priests chant, their voices fainter now. Some cities lingered, their markets smaller, their canals choked with silt. You might live in one, your life a shadow of summer's glory, the air heavy with the scent of a land no longer yours. Trade routes shifted north, the scent of lapis and cedar fading, and summer scribes wrote less, their clay tablets fewer, the air of their rooms still with dust. Yet Sumer did not vanish. Imagine its legacy carried in Babylon's laws, its stories, its stars. The air of Mesopotamia, though changed, held summer's echo in cuneiform in the Epic of Gilgamesh, in the gods' names whispered by new voices. Archaeologists find its traces, their trowels uncovering seals and pots, the air of their digs alive with discovery. Summer's decline was a slow fade, its light dimming but never gone, its rivers still flowing in the dreams of those who followed. As you rest, let summer's plains linger, the cracked earth, the scent of salt, the hum of a fading city. It was a world that rose and fell, its story one of resilience and loss. Now, let us drift to another tale, one of the labor that built Mesopotamia's dreams. As the plains of Sumer fade, their cracked earth and silent cities settling into the dusk, let your mind linger on the rivers that cradled Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates, whose waters carried not only life but ideas that echo through time. The farmers, kings, scribes, and stargazers we've met built a world of mud brick and clay. Yet their work endures, its traces woven into the fabric of our lives. Tonight, we pause to reflect on Mesopotamia's legacy, a tapestry of writing, laws, cities, and dreams that shaped the modern world. Imagine yourself there, by a riverbank under the stars, as we explore why this ancient land still matters, its whispers carried on the air of history. Picture Uruk, some 5,000 years ago, its walls rising from the dust, the air warm with the scent of barley and reeds. Here, in this city, the first marks were pressed into clay, not for poetry, but for counting grain. The air of that moment was quiet, the scribe's stylus scratching softly, yet it sparked a revolution. Cuneiform, as we saw, grew from those marks, capturing laws, stories, and stars. Imagine a tablet, its surface cool, its wedges a map of a merchant's debt or a king's decree. These tablets, baked by sun or fire, survived millennia, their clay a bridge to us. The air of modern libraries, where they rest, carries their weight, their words the root of every script, from alphabets to archives. Mesopotamia's gift of writing was more than marks. Picture a scribal school, the air thick with clay and focus, where students memorized lists, barley, sheep, rivers. This act of record-keeping birthed bureaucracy, the skeleton of cities and empires. The air of Sumer hummed with order, its scribes tracking taxes, trade, and time. Today, our spreadsheets, our contracts, our books carry that same rhythm, their digital hum and echo of the stylus's scratch. The air of our world, filled with data, owes its structure to those quiet rooms where clay held the pulse of a civilization. Laws, too, were Mesopotamia's legacy. Imagine Babylon, its stele of Hammurabi towering in a square, the air alive with the murmur of justice. The code, as we explored, was stern, its eye for an eye, a balance of order and fear. Yet it was a step toward fairness, a promise that rules, not whims, would govern. The air of that promise carried forward, shaping the laws of Greece, Rome, and beyond. Picture a modern courtroom, its air cool with precedent, its scales a distant kin to Hammurabi's. The principles of restitution, of written law, began in Babylon's dust, their weight enduring in our world's foundation. Cities themselves were Mesopotamia's triumph. Picture its streets bustling, the air thick with the scent of fish and spice. Uruk, Nippur, Babylon, these were the first urban centers, their mud brick walls a blueprint for community. The air of their markets, temples, and homes held the hum of trade, faith, and family, a rhythm we still know. Imagine a modern city, its air alive with voices, its skyline a ziggurat of glass and steel. The idea of living together, of building walls to hold a shared life, began in Summer's Plains, its legacy the pulse of every metropolis. Mesopotamia's stories shaped our dreams. Picture a firelit courtyard, the air warm, as a scribe recites the epic of Gilgamesh, its words of friendship and loss a lullaby. The air of that tale, carved in clay, carried themes of mortality and meaning, echoes we hear in literature, from Homer to today. The flood story, too, with its boat and rainbow, drifted through cultures, its air of survival a thread in our myths. These narratives, born in summer's night, remind us that stories bind us, their rhythm a comfort across time. Science owes Mesopotamia a debt. Imagine a priest atop a ziggurat, the air cool, his eyes tracing Jupiter's arc. Babylonian astronomy, as we saw, mapped the sky with precision, its tablets tracking eclipses and planets. The air of those observations, clear and vast, reached Greek astronomers, then Arabs, then us, their cycles shaping our calendars, our clocks, our orbits. The zodiac, the 360-degree circle, even the 60-minute hour, carry the scent of Babylon's stars, their legacy a guide through the cosmos. Even medicine, fragile as it was, began here. Picture a healer's hut, the air thick with herbs and prayers, as an Asu mixed potions for a fevered child. Their tablets, listing symptoms and cures, were the first medical texts, their air of trial and error a step toward healing. Modern medicine, with its labs and scans, breathes that same air of observation, its roots in Mesopotamia's hope. The air of a hospital, sterile and calm, carries the echo of those clay jars, their remedies a whisper of care. Mesopotamia's decline, as we saw, was slow, its air growing dry, its cities fading. Yet its fall was not an end. Picture Babylon, its walls crumbling, the air heavy with sand, as new peoples, Persians, Greeks, carried its ideas forward. The air of their empires held summer's spark, its writing, laws, and stars of flame that never died. Archaeologists, digging through tells, find its traces, seals, pots, tablets, the air of their digs alive with discovery. Each find, dusted with care, breathes the air of Mesopotamia, its legacy a mirror of our own making. Why does Mesopotamia matter? Imagine your life, your words, your laws, your city, your dreams. The air you breathe carries their echo, faint but real, a thread from Uruk's fields to now. Mesopotamia was not perfect, its air heavy with toil, hierarchy and fear, but it was human, its people striving to build, to know, to endure. Their clay, their stars, their stories are ours, a foundation we walk upon, the air of history a gentle current. As you rest, let Mesopotamia linger, the rivers flow, the styluses scratch, the stars' quiet glow. Its legacy is not in ruins, but in the world we live, its air a whisper of beginnings. Let this thought carry you, a final drift into the night. And so, our journey through Mesopotamia draws to a close, its rivers, cities, and stars settling into the quiet of your mind. From the farmer's fields to the ziggurat's summit, from the scribe's clay to the sky's endless map, we've wandered through a world both distant and familiar, where lives were shaped by toil, faith, and the hope of tomorrow. These stories, etched in mud brick and memory, are not merely relics, but threads in the tapestry of who we are. As you lie there, let the air of Sumer linger, its gentle current a reminder of a time when the first cities rose, their hum a lullaby across millennia. Now, as the Tigris and Euphrates fade, their waters carrying you toward dreams, picture the comfort of your own world's soft blankets, quiet nights, the worries of ancient farmers far away. Mesopotamia's legacy lives in the words you read, the laws you know, the stars you see. But tonight, it is yours to rest beneath. Let the rhythm of history slow, its stories a gentle tide, and drift into sleep, carried by the whispers of a land that endures. Good night, and may your dreams be as peaceful as a Babylonian sky.